In a bustling city where wealth and reputation meant everything, a young woman named Clara had always been the subject of mockery among her so-called peers because she came from a modest background and carried herself with a quiet dignity that many mistook for weakness, and though she worked tirelessly at a small publishing house to support her mother and younger brother, her colleagues constantly belittled her, calling her old-fashioned, plain, and unworthy of attention. But what they didn't know was that behind her shy smile was a heart stronger than steel, one that had weathered storms most of them couldn't even imagine. And it was during one particularly humiliating afternoon in the office cafeteria when a group of her co-workers decided to play a cruel joke by setting her up on a blind date with a man they claimed would be perfect for her. Though in their whispers and laughter they confessed that it was all just a prank, something to amuse themselves, and Clara, unaware of their cruel intentions, agreed nervously when they told her he was charming, wealthy, and looking for someone genuine, because though she was cautious, deep inside she longed for someone who could see her for who she truly was, yet she had no idea that fate had prepared something far greater than what those who mocked her could ever comprehend, for the man she was about to meet was none other than Alexander Reed, a brilliant CEO, respected businessman, and more importantly, a devoted single father, who had built his empire from scratch after losing his wife years ago. And while many women in the city chased him for his money and status, Alexander longed for someone kind, someone who could care for his little daughter Lily with the warmth of a mother's love. But he had grown cold to the idea of dating because every encounter felt staged and shallow, until one evening when his close business friend suggested a blind dinner arrangement at a grand restaurant, telling him it might just be worth his time. And though reluctant, Alexander agreed, if only for the sake of not disappointing his friend, never imagining that this dinner would change his life forever. And so on that fateful night Clara arrived at the luxurious venue, her hands trembling as she adjusted the simple dress she had borrowed from her neighbor, feeling completely out of place among the glittering chandeliers and the expensive gowns of women who glanced at her with disdain, whispering under their breath that she didn't belong. Yet she walked forward with courage, her heart pounding as she scanned the tables until her eyes met those of Alexander, who stood tall in his black tailored suit with his little daughter beside him. And in that moment he felt a strange pull toward her, a softness in her gaze that made him pause, for unlike the others she did not seem impressed by his wealth or presence. She seemed nervous yet sincere, and it intrigued him. And while the co-workers who had plotted the prank sat nearby hiding their giggles and waiting for the embarrassment they thought would unfold, Alexander gently introduced himself, extending his hand while his daughter Lily peeked curiously from behind him clutching her stuffed bunny, and Clara smiled warmly at the little girl before taking his hand, her natural kindness shining through, instantly winning Lily's trust as the child reached out her tiny hand toward Clara, which made Alexander's heart stir in a way it hadn't in years. And as dinner unfolded, something unexpected happened. Clara's authenticity and quiet strength began to melt the icy wall around Alexander's heart, while she found herself laughing and listening as he shared stories not of business empires but of bedtime routines, pancakes on Sundays, and the challenges of raising a daughter alone. And she in turn opened up about her own struggles, the nights she stayed awake helping her brother with homework, the mornings she ran to catch the bus to work, and though she feared being judged, Alexander listened intently, his eyes never leaving hers, making her feel seen for the first time. And it was in those hours that the cruel prank began to backfire, for instead of humiliation, a spark ignited between them so genuine that it silenced even the laughter of those watching. And as dessert was served, Lily surprised everyone by handing Clara a small rose she had been hiding, saying softly, "You're really nice. Will you stay with us?" And though the room chuckled at the innocence of a child, Alexander's heart skipped a beat, for he realized his daughter saw in Clara the very thing he himself had been searching for. And in that instant, as Clara held the rose with tears welling in her eyes, Alexander made a decision that shocked the entire restaurant. He stood, his powerful presence commanding silence, and took Clara's hand as he said in a voice both steady and vulnerable, "I don't believe in coincidences, and I don't care what brought us here tonight, but I know what I feel right now is real. Clara, will you marry me?" And the room gasped. The co-workers who had orchestrated the cruel prank froze in disbelief, their smirks wiped away as they realized the woman they tried to ridicule had just captured the heart of the city's most powerful man. And Clara, trembling, whispered yes, not because of the wealth or status, but because for the first time someone saw her worth. Someone wanted her for her, and Alexander pulled her close as Lily clapped with joy, sealing a moment that turned mockery into triumph, pain into love, and loneliness into a family reborn. And from that night forward Clara's life was never the same, for she walked out of that restaurant not as a victim of a cruel joke but as the woman who had been chosen by fate to rewrite her story. And as viewers hear this tale they are reminded that true love comes not from status or appearances but from sincerity, kindness, and courage to be real. And if you believe in stories where the unexpected can change everything, where love wins over cruelty, Then make sure to subscribe to this channel because more heart-touching stories are waiting just for you. Stories that will inspire you, move you, and remind you that no matter who you are, your value is far greater than the world's laughter, and your story, too, is worth believing in.